Hey guys, and welcome to an informative video today, which is, this isn't really for my followers because, as you guys know, we're more of a community channel. We are all equal. I want us to keep connecting in the comments, and some of you have been around a long time, and even you guys have been around a short time. I think it's nice to be able to talk to each other because we feel there's a lot of disability in the world, but there's not really, right? So it's very hard to gather us together. I'm looking for some places to go to hang out with other disabled people. Not saying that you normal people aren't in my eyesight. It's just sometimes you just want someone that just understands, right? People that don't ask about your disability at parties and things and let you just party or something. That's what we look for. Just in case you want to know if you're normal, we don't want people to spot our awkwardness and our autism problem stuff. That's just, you can see us going offline because we need to, like, okay, we're exhausted, right? Trying to catch up, we're trying to process what you're saying. Just ignore it. We're used to it. Don't worry. You don't need to nurse us through. Most of us like our independence. And also disability. Be careful with disability people. Don't ask them too many questions. It's not that I know you care. People care that say these things. People care when they ask you how you're going, whatever. But it's just, it would be like me saying, how was your last GP appointment? What did they say in it? I want to know deets. It's not comfortable, right? It's not party talk. Anyway. That's an education there. So I want to talk about, I guess, my era, my treatment as a child being mentally retarded. In the modern day we call it autism. Sounds better, sounds like it's not such a difficult thing to survive. So be careful of that. That name should never be used as a slur, by the way. Now, when I was growing up, it wasn't a good era for people who were mentally retarded like myself. From day one, things didn't go well. I mean, compared to others, guys, I have a genetic syndrome as well, which is the cause of my autism as well. I have a DNA autism, I guess you could say. I'm kind of one of the first that has it in their DNA. You all will eventually. There'll be some way they'll know. But basically, I was born with a lot of medical problems. So I'm lucky to be alive from even just then. And then up until 3, I was sick. After 3, young and sick as a child. Sick. Let alone autism. And ADHD for 22 cures is bad. And I can vouch for that. My mother has got the get out of jail free card on the ADHD side of it. I was out of control. Not due to her lack of discipline and telling me off and trying to make me learn right from wrong. Now, I'm not going to talk about the abuse in this because, and I'm also not going to not mention the abuse in this briefly because abuse is never the response to a difficult child who has a disability. In fact, it is just even more disgusting that you know the child is struggling and you use abuse to respond to your stress. Never an acceptable response. Physical harm causes life scars, guys. Don't talk about, oh, but you know, it's the things they say that hurt the most. No, actually, that can be part of it, sure. But when you're a defenseless child and you are having DV against you, just think of it as it's worse than if you're an adult and you're getting DV because you can't do anything. You can't do anything. But I do know how to be a Christian, and I see my mum in 2 ways. And my mum's discipline strategies were fantastic. I didn't disagree. I didn't disagree when I got the wooden spoon if I said a swear word for my Tourette's, which if only they knew now. But that's another thing. Tourette's is also included in mental retardation. That's the old name that I was given So I'm talking about how I was raised. I was raised as a mentally retarded child, a deficient child, a child that wasn't going to amount to anything. What's the point with her? Just pass her through the grades, put her in special ed, and I used to think, what are they doing? What are the normal kids doing? It used to really upset me. So for me, every mentally retarded thing I did, whether it's Tourette's, an autism thing, anything, majority of it was punished with corporal punishment that, like I said, sometimes went too far. So yes, we could say that we do have to give some grace in there of my mother never had support. She was on her own. That's never okay. However, I can vouch you don't need to beat your child continually for a long period of time to cope with being a single mum. That is not acceptable. That is not a way to cope with being a single mum. I'm never going to say that I'm acknowledging her single parenthood, but I'm not going to say that that's an excuse to keep doing it for years and years and years. The first time she should have said to herself, I need to get some help. Anyway, so basically, if I did something like swear words, which was, I have coprolalia as part of my Tourette's. If I'm wiggling and whatever else, and sometimes it wasn't the ADHD, it was the tics. If I'm watching TV, and in my era of TV, the echolalia can get set off from those shows because they have these stock standard sayings. That's the old classic shows, guys, that I was raised on. And I'm parroting it, and then it would get me into trouble. It would even just come out at school, had no relevancy to what's going on. And the teacher's like, what? And it's something from the goodies, or, you know, and someone might pick it up and go, that's from that TV show. She's pretending to be so-and-so. I've only known through theatre arts how to behave. Really. It's kind of raw. It's very raw for me to actually... I never used to speak, but I could get on a stage and dance amazingly from 3. I don't get it, but on a stage you can't see anything. The lights are so bright, it's like it's black. So it's like you're just dancing. It's like, oh, this is cool. And I enjoyed the motion of it in my body because as an autistic child, if you want to know what some feelings are, I felt trapped. I felt like when you've got like muscle spasms, if anyone's got dystonia, you know that more than anyone, like me. You're like, you just want to stretch it out. You're just like, oh, everything's sweaty, everything. Because when I get my, this is one of my worst sensory things, when I get like my dystonia and my things, like normally I get these fingers free all the time, but these ones go nuts and they just do this, like a clamshell, right? They just do that. And it gets all sweaty. And I have to put tissues in there, like shove tissues in there because it gets sweaty and the sensory gets... Anyway, so basically it would be, oh, that's defiance. So at school, you would be treated like the worst kid. You're sent to the principal's office and you're threatened to get the cane. In my era, we had the cane. Yes, we did. We had the cane. Absolutely. And the little black book, none of us knew what it was. It was nothing. It was all a tactic, but... And guys... Here I am sitting there with other naughty kids from other classes. I'm not a naughty kid. I spoke out of turn that's non-relating to the situation because no one's realizing, even though they know she's retarded, that's how they used to act those days. She's slow. And they would say that one very strongly because retardation was, oh, we can't sort of tell confidentiality kind of thing. You know, we can't tell all the other kids that she's retarded, but we can say she's slow. Which is basically just connected to that and part of maybe our processing because it's very slow and we don't grow out of that. You cannot change that. You get to a certain peak and that's it. Just like every other adult. And so it was punished as if you had purposely said, fuck off to your teacher or something. Think of that as an innocent, scared autistic who can't speak. Imagine going to school and you know for that whole hours, if you need something, no one's going to understand you. Sorry, guys. I can't help but feel those feelings. When you know you're not going to be able to speak your needs, let alone your wants, it's scary. It is easier now, I'm sorry. But I think you need to respect the veterans of autism. Autism didn't just come up in 2020, okay? There's been generations, there's 60, 70-year-olds with autism. I'd love to hear their stories, because they'd also have even more than I have to say about this, of what they were called. Like I was, a mental retarded, slow, never going to be a functioning person in society. She's never going to make it. She's never going to speak, probably. Oh no, hang on, she's speaking. We weren't treated nicely, okay? It was, parents were embarrassed by us. Parents would beg us, you know, before we walk in this door, just act normal. Because it was a reflection on parenting. I give them that. It's a reflection on parenting in those days. It really was. If your kid acted up in those days and in my days, you would be named and shamed in the middle of a shopping centre or in the middle of your family's gathering, okay? And the same thing in my growing up. So naturally my parents like, don't do that, okay? Zip it. As in, try and zip Tourette's. I can't zip Tourette's. I used to ask my brother when I could speak. As soon as I could speak, that was one of the conversations I had with my brother. How do you not swear? It was so tough growing up without a proper label, a respectful label, in the sense of people coming at you as, this is not your fault. You were born with a brain that is not functioning because of the structure, because of all of the build of it. It's not the same as others, and you're going to suffer. And I'm here to support you. We didn't have that. It's, you need to catch up with the others, or you're just going to be homeless, left behind. It's your responsibility to fix your autism. Your mental retardation needs to go away. It was brutal, guys. And that's the majority of the realistic view of many autistics. Chewy, can't handle that anymore now. Ugh. I like it for a stim, but when it gets to a certain sogginess, it's like, no, it's not the same thing. I like a firm chewy, not a soft chewy. Anyway, basically, depending on where you grow up and what you grow up in, even in my era, does make a difference, yes. I had many good uncles and aunties, not my great-grandparents, but wonderful grandparents on both sides that were very stable and solid, good values and morals, and always taught me lessons, and I'm so grateful. Even my uncles and my aunties all taught me lessons that I've never forgotten. Because if I didn't have that, because my mum never communicated verbally to me. We never used to just talk. So I didn't have any support, even at home. My brother was my lifeline. If I needed something, he'd say, Mum, she needs this. She's got a headache and she needs this. Just help her out because she's annoying me. That's what that poor kid had to go through, and that's what this poor kid had to go through. So any of you that say that, oh, you know, some of you parents need to stop acting so entitled to your adult kids cutting you off. No bullshit. Unless there's actual major abuse going on towards the child, I just think you're creating trouble by giving people advice and saying, leave your parents if you don't like what they say, how they make you feel. Grow the fuck up. Do you think it felt good for my in-laws and my parents, the good stuff? And this is what I'm saying. It's not black and white about my parents. But if some things they told me, it's like, yeah, no, you're okay, you're right. They're always right. Because when you get to 50, you're going to feel like a dickhead. Because you're going to go, oh, hang on. Shouldn't have said that at that age. I didn't really know what I was talking about. There is a no contact generation going on, and it is so, I can handle it. But what worries me is my children are going to suffer when I'm gone. And I've got a high risk of being gone, as you know, with my stats. It's not good for them. What worries me the most, why I have a channel, is for my children. Because they're going to regret it. Because they're too young to understand. So some of you that are young and encouraging other young to cut off their parents, just please stop. Okay? I want my parents, but they don't want me. Do you see the difference? An abused child normally wants their parents. They just don't want to be abused. Even in adulthood, because I was abused in adulthood. I don't want to be abused. I want them. But I just don't want to be abused. But I want them. And they know this. But they know they can't stop their abusive ways. So they obviously don't want to know me. And they're using my children as pawns against me. That is not healthy and normal, because I didn't even do that. Hey, your grandparents are so bad. If they actually come to me and said, I want to be in touch with my grandparents, I'd be like, well, that's your choice. You're an adult. But as a child, I wasn't going to let you, because I don't think they're psychologically safe, because my mum's into parental alienation. She's into it, okay? Did it to my father our whole childhood. I used to come home from my grandparents, which is the other side, not her parents. How was it with your grandparents? That is fucked up. Okay, that is something that you can complain about. But this stuff that's, oh, this doesn't make me feel good. This doesn't make me feel safe. They're not telling me everything I want to hear. I put up with that, and I still loved my mother through it, because that's what a mature person does. The reason my mother's not in my life is because she literally grabbed me and shook me as a grown adult. And I was like, oh, here we go again. I'm not going to be beaten by you. I'm not your punching bag. So just make sure you clarify. It should be for children who are abused. However, I didn't want her gone for good, but she chose that by not behaving correctly over and over and over again. And every time I try and make it different or patch it up, she can't. She can't. Because she knows that she can't stop abusing. So this is the difference between the generation of, oh, you know, it's autism and here we are going to help. But now you parents that are the bad parents, because you good parents aren't doing this, you are probably calling, you know, certain things on them with restrictive practices and things, and doing things that I think is disgusting. Is going backwards to what we did wrong to my generation. You're going back to that. Now, I'm not talking about healthy restrictive practices that are done very correctly and very respectfully, and that does exist. But that, unfortunately, guys, like ABA, there's wonderful ABA. I advocate for ABA. I think it's wonderful. Absolutely essential if you're actually autistic. Essential. I mean, I don't know how I would have got through childhood without ABA. But I will say, there is ABA sides. There's like two sides to these two things that are really bad. Really bad. Okay, and we all know that. And so things aren't black and white. As in, see how it's not good and it's not bad. It's just kind of a bit of both. So how I was raised, with every symptom for autism that would have showed up, my eating, sleeping problems, all of that was corporal punishment or just punishment. Now, it doesn't matter which one. Every single one made me feel so crap, because everything I did was wrong. Nothing I did until at least maybe age 13. I started to be able to learn how to be so quiet that I didn't do much so that I couldn't screw up anymore. So I lived back again. I had to retreat. I could verbalize better. That was helpful, but I went back in because it wasn't safe to speak and be. It wasn't safe. Legit. They would have all gone, oh my God, she's so retarded. Get fucked. I don't want to hang out with you. because that's my era. That's what my friends would have said. You're so annoying, and you do this, and you're weird, and you're a retard. You're slow. That's my reality of my generation. And I just find it funny how the professionals don't even want to talk to us about, you know, what it was like when it was called mental retardation and not autism. I grew up in Australia in the 70s and 80s in the school system, and 90s, early 90s in the school system, only 1991. So basically, I'm just saying, think about that. I'm being called mentally retarded, slow, not going to amount to anything in that era in Australia. I can't speak for all countries because I don't know the systems of other countries, but I will tell you that's what it was called then. It wasn't called autism. There might have been some people who were non-verbal, never spoke up until adulthood, that would normally, boys, they would get called autism, possibly. But then they still included mental retardation. So it's kind of like maybe a transfer period, but you had to be really extreme, you know, can't even go to school at all because you're non-verbal. They didn't even offer schooling for those. Oh, well, they're just pretty much, they're nothing. It's so sad. Like, I feel sad for the parents and the autistics back then, the mentally retarded people back then like myself, who were on that severe scale because they were kept at home, hidden, or hidden in institutions. Sorry, it makes me quite emotional. Just no autistic deserves that. Anyway. We were taught non-stop. My experience growing up was school didn't finish at 3 p.m. The walk home I used to do slow with all of the kids in the street. That in that era everyone walked home. I'm on my own, of course, in the middle of it all, but just on my own and in my own world, because I'm not a functioning child. I couldn't speak, couldn't hold a conversation, you know. So I'm walking home, and I'd always remember going slow, purposely watching my feet hit the ground. Not safe, right? Slow. Because as soon as I'd get home, I didn't know what was going to tip me over because of how much I had to hold of emotions being a girl autistic. I get home, everything came off. Not just the shoes, clothes, bag, shoes, everything. And my brother's going, no, Mum, tell her to stop doing that. It's weird. It's not that he's not right, but he was a child. And then it was like schooling all over again. This is how you tie your shoelaces. This is how you untie your shoelaces. And sit down and we're going to do it. Are you stupid? And it was an education session until the moment I went to bed. And then I had an education time on sleep hygiene because I'm up till midnight every single night, but bouncing out of bed at 6 a.m. because I'm an ADHD kid. 20Q, which is ADHD on steroids. So it was never just... the only time I got to relax is if I sat and did my colouring in, which I can't colour in the lines, by the way. But anyway, my brother always used to say, it's not colouring the lines. He's such a... It's actually an endearing thing. I think back on him now as an adult, is it's his perfectionism and OCD, and just, he's a high achiever now, right? He's a very successful person. I'm very proud. But it's just funny how he pointed out, you're not colouring in the lines. And here I am I just don't care. I get everything wrong. Let me be in my happy space. Because if I stop this, then Mum's going to give me a lecture on how to do something. How to brush your teeth. Why are you not brushing your teeth by yourself now? You're too old for this. And this is the constant... That's not... Guys, if you think that your autism is not catered for through your childhood into your teenage years and adult years, and that's not enough, think of this. They knew I was mentally retarded. They knew. My mother knew. She knew. And she didn't make accommodations because in those days, ableism was popular. Ableism was, yes, if you're not pro-ableism, you're an asshole. Seriously. It was, no, these kids, oh gosh, they're so annoying, aren't they? They're so annoying. Why are they in society? They shouldn't even live. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And you try growing up, which is growing up is hard, but you try growing up in that as an autistic. It's really, 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 really hard. And that's why I find it sad that my mum doesn't have the emotional maturity to sit with me and have a chat and go, right, this is why all these things happened between us. Because of this diagnosis and my autism and the mental retardation that you knew about. If we talked about it, if she wanted to understand it, she could. And much healing would be done. But unfortunately, she'll also go to her grave with all of this, which, you know, she might regret because she knows what she's done. She can lie. Sure, that'll work when you're on Earth, but it won't work on Judgment Day, and it won't work isn't it funny? I feel sorry for her. She must sit with such guilt. And I could take that away too if she could take my pain away, what she did to me. By saying sorry. But she knows what she did to me. Every time she did something to me, she knows. She made that choice. And I hope she finds it in her heart before she dies to connect with me and say I'm sorry, so that I can also be part of that understanding of what happened. Your lack of understanding, Mum, on mental retardation was the problem. You being a single mum absolutely was the problem. Where were you, Father? Oh, I know. Don't worry. You don't need to tell me. I know. I heard it all from my stepmother. But basically, I'm just going to say, so much generational trauma needs to be not treated as all the same, because it's not all the same. It's completely different in every family. And a lot of families with disability, 80% of marriages break up because of a special needs child. Okay, it's rough. There's a lot of single mums with medically complex and autistic children, ADHD children, or all the combinations, and it's tough. And I take my hat off to those people. I saw it with my own eyes, with my own mother. With my dad not participating in the hard stuff. You know, he had the fun stuff. Let's go to Adventure World and let's go to Nana and Pa's and swim in their beautiful pool and let's have lots of rich food and let's be all rich. I get it, Mum. But you should have known then that when we're adults, we can talk about that together. But to be careful how you talk about my actual grandparents. They're my blood. They are me. And I do love them. And you have to respect that. I love all my grandparents, all of my family, even the people that hurt me. Christian. I stand by my word. It's not just words. I stand by my words. I love thy mother, thy father. But people need to repent to get your respect. That's all I've ever asked for. I'm a very forgiving person, but you need it acknowledged to feel safe around people. Anyway, in those days, this is exactly what was done. Single mums didn't get support. Okay, so that's one thing that if you're a single mum and you're getting support now, think of the veteran mums like my mum who had nothing, not even an education from the specialist at the children's hospital that I was always at. They didn't say, well, this is what you could do with her and this is what you could do. They weren't helping. She went to them for help, but refused because obviously, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they're being difficult, they're just not wanting to pay attention, because obviously I was medically complex and wasn't diagnosed with anything apart from, like I said, mental retardation, GDD, IDD, hyperactivity, development, well, that is in the GDD, but basically all of these problems because I was prematurely born, and that's how they treated me. But they didn't help her, and sadly that made her reject them, which then made my medical care go down in childhood. Both parties played a shitty role in that, to be honest. But healthcare system, you should have done better. You should have protected children like me, but you didn't. And late diagnosis of 48. Health department, I'm looking at you these days, not just one hospital. I'm looking at you. Like, guys, in Australia, your childhood records just disappear when you turn 18. So you go to a hospital at 18, there's no history. How dangerous is that? And in Australia, guys, we don't usually, and no one else does, but only because I'm medically complex, we don't take files with us of reports and all these things. We do because I'm medically complex. But an average Australian doesn't. They just turn up to ED and go, yeah, I'm here for this. Or turn up to a GP, yeah, I'm here for this. Seriously. To a new GP, I should say, one that they haven't seen before. So it's not normal to do that, and they never picked it up. But anyway, in my era, parents weren't supported. They didn't know each other too. There was no connections because there was shame. Everything was shame. It's the parenting. It's your parenting. The teachers would tell them that, and it was just a mess. It was just a mess. There was no accommodations. They're still, for the average autistic, the average disabled kid at schools, they're still fighting for access to accommodations in Australia. I know this because my lawyer has a good focus group every now and then and knows a lot about what's going on around town because she's the best disability lawyer in Australia. So this is fact. And it's disgusting. So if you're getting the supports you need in any small way, you're doing better than most. If you're not getting support, I hear you and I back you up because I've heard it myself from people in Perth school systems not getting the accommodations made for the autistic child that need to be made, or not being on the same page. Like, restrictive practices is stupid. It's like me. I was on the bench when I was in normal class, which is for stupid subjects, because, I'm slow, I'm mentally retarded. I'd be put outside because I'd be swinging my legs or something, which is stimming, or I'd be rocking in the chair, stimming, outside, because I'm moving. Movement was not allowed in the next generation. Don't breathe, don't move, just listen. That's how horrible it was at school. That's how strict it was. Ask any Australian. And then you'd be outside, and then I spent most of my time outside. Didn't care though, being autistic, I kind of liked it. Got to know the birds and the plants and the flowers. Would swing my legs because I'm so tiny, I could, in the benches out the back. Very stimmy. No one could see because the window was above me, so they couldn't see that. But what am I learning? Where's the inclusion? You don't think that my little mind, even though I was so nonverbal, I don't think there was any complex thoughts going on, but when I look back, you can't tell me that's not damaging me. And then everyone now is like, oh, why are you so in isolation? Because I don't have safe people to socialize with. Because as soon as my autism shows, people actually take advantage of it, not protect me. Because humans are just sometimes not good. But a true test of a human is give them something vulnerable and see what they do. Do they take power over that, power trip, or do they treat them with the care and the respect that they deserve because of their vulnerability? That's a good test for a human being, I'll tell you that right now, in psychology. So I hope some of this has validated some people that are in my generation who it wasn't a pretty situation having autism, and we're seeing a cycle of them bringing back the bad, punishing speech problems, restrictive practices, are coming back, and I don't think in Australia it's not coming back in a healthy way. Maybe in other countries you do it in a healthy way. And it all depends on who's doing that practice and if they're doing it the right way, I guess, too. We've got to realize that. But I'm not liking it. I think you're just going to traumatize the autistic again, and then you're just going to end up with an adult that's got a double whammy of CPTSD as well as autism, and then they can't function properly. So you're not bringing the best out of the person if you want them to be functioning in the world. And it is possible to be functioning in the world, because I did it, but I did it the hard way. I did it with a life of just being bullied and just having to put up with it, because it's like, yep, I know I'm a retard. You can see it and you know it, and you know how to socially engineer things, and I'm on my own. I'm fine. But you know what? Even just being on your own and doing what I'm doing now, you'll still get talked about for doing nothing. Because I'm a woman and I'm in the women's world. Women are bitches. I wish I was a man sometimes. Like, yeah, you got something to say? Okay, done, over. Women, it's just like, it's like, oh my God, it's not high school. Even in high school, it wasn't acceptable. It's exhausting. Those bitches are exhausting. Anyway, I don't hang around those kind of people. It's too tiring. Okay, communication is hard enough. I don't need people. It's like, oh my God, you're so sad. You're so sad about your life that you have to. Just know that. Okay, think of the commentary channels. Just think of that. That's bitchy. And they're getting money from just being bitches. I'm including men in that too. They're bitches. Commentary channels aren't all bad too, by the way, but I'm talking about the ones that you know, the ones that really, really get stuck into people, and it's like, geez, I hope you know what you're doing, because once again, misinformation, like I talked about, you've got to be careful who you listen to, because people are getting it wrong. It's not okay. So let me know what country you're in, if you are either went through school 70s, 80s, 90s, and how you were treated, not late 90s, because it changed a lot, I think, around the world for autism. I know for my son it was completely different, but I want to know the 70s, 80s, and I last finished, like I said, 91. So did you have any similar experience, and do you remember being called a mental retard, slow, which is another word for it? Is that what you were given? Is that how you were treated in certain ways I was treated? Being segregated into a small group, you know, doing nothing much with other mums that are like teacher aides, you know? In Australia, they weren't even proper trained TAFE, like basic teacher aiding. No, they weren't trained at all. They were just mums that obviously know that they can do it with their kids at home, and they can offer that. And they were wonderful. I will vouch for that. I loved them all. But I left school, year 11, I finished, and year 7 level of education. A bad 7 level at that. But I didn't actually start reading and writing and doing all that mathematics stuff until I was 11 turning 12 anyway. So I just didn't expect it to be any different, especially when you're arguing with your English lit teacher that Animal Farm is about animals. It's got nothing to do with politics. I think you are in psychosis. I did that. They knew I was retarded. They gave me accommodations up the wazoo. I had a great high school, okay? It was like, just go for a walk. Happy to. I'd walk off 10 minutes. I'd take the whole 10 minutes, man. We used to wear watches in those days. Taking the whole 10 minutes. For the whole 10 minutes. I needed to get... I even said to my geography teacher, you don't know anything about geography. Why are you teaching it? Because every question she couldn't answer. I said that too. I didn't know what I was doing. I still do things like that now in adulthood, and I don't get grace. No, I don't get grace. I get shamed. I get picked on. I'm still mentally retarded. you don't grow out of it. We now call it autism, and I do respect that it's a better name. I do respect that, you know, retardation was used as a slur for a long time. I do understand that, and remember, I'm not using it in that way. It was a descriptive word of autistics in my day. Fact. They used it on us. The word I heard as a child all the time. So anyway, let me know your experience if you can relate, because I really would love to know. It's a really tough place to be, being autistic in this world right now. Doesn't matter where you are, unless you're hugely privileged. And I want some people to think of that. Stop looking at famous autistics and going, well, you know, they've got it easy because they're famous and everyone sees them and goes, they're autistic, treat them different. But us, you can tell them to blue in the face, I'm autistic. I didn't understand that. Like, slow it down, or they're like, you speak, you can understand me. It's like, no, I actually can't understand everything people say. No, actually, I'm still autistic. I didn't grow out of it. You're going to be struggling because you're not privileged to be well known as an autistic online or on TV or whatever else. That's not reality. They call it reality TV, but it's not. They're always privileged families. We are the ones that are struggling the most, the ones that people don't know about. We go out into the world, we have to be struggling with the autism with no support, because no one goes, oh, I know this person, I know she has autism and I know how to treat her. I'm going to treat her autistically. That's a privilege that those people have that we don't have, guys. Please understand that in your, you know, how you look at things in yourself, especially if you're young. That's going to be something that's going to affect the young. Please just be aware that you are just as deserved to be seen as those people. I don't like people being famous for just being autistic. I think it doesn't set the precedence of awareness for everyone. It's not an inclusive type thing, is it? And what are autistics always getting? Rejected. So I don't think it's nice. But I also don't think it's nice for TV producers to use us as kind of props either. I think that can be a little bit misused. I'm not saying that certain things aren't 100% bad. I think it's a bit of both. So anyway, remember those things about autism, because it's a very big area, big field, and be careful of the information you listen to, because the channel I found was deeply concerning. The misinformation was deeply concerning. So just fact check. You can fact check me if you want. Go for it. I encourage people to critically think. Comments down below on anything that you relate to on this. And if you've got any questions, put them in there. If you think something can branch out from this, some of the topics here you want me to branch out on, let me know. And I love you all, and I do hope this helps someone, because that's why I share. I share my experience, my thoughts on how I've seen the evolution of autism, and some of us veterans who are old, who were still raised autistic, but we just weren't given that name. We're not being heard or seen. They're focusing on young autistics, and that's understandable. I get it, because they're starting their life, right? But I think some validation and acknowledgement needs to come to all. And I think even up to, I don't care if you're 90, you deserve recognition for being autistic and doing it all without any help. But just criticism. No, you're doing everything you do is wrong. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'll just do nothing then. I'll just stand here. Yeah. I mean, I used to be called in the kitchen. Mum made the mistake every time. Thinking I'm neurotypical, obviously, you know. Come in the kitchen, help me. Oh, no, get out. You're just making more of a mess. Yeah. Well, why do you keep forgetting? She did it right up until teenage years. I'm like, why are you forgetting I'm stupid? And guys, I know I'm not stupid, but what I mean is I didn't instinctively know what to do. I used to just literally walk in there. She'd give me a tea towel and I'd just stand there with it. Because I've got to be told that, no, the tea towel's to dry right in front of you, the wet dishes. I didn't think. That's where my level was then, as a teenager. It's brutal. Anyway, It's a lot better when people know what you've got and understand how it is. So if you don't think autism awareness hasn't evolved, it has. I'm living proof of it. Take care, everyone. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.